Imagine a world map, without the red swaths of the British Empire. One small island nation never projected its power across every ocean and continent. This isn't just a change in color, it's a fundamental rewrite of the last 5 centuries. The British Empire shaped our modern world. Its removal unravels the tapestry of global society. What would this alternate world look like? The British Empire was a global system, moving people, goods, and ideas, creating and destroying nations, spreading its language and laws. Would other empires have filled the void? Would the world be more peaceful, or more chaotic? We'll visit an India of powerful states, an Africa of flourishing kingdoms, and a North America that might have been French, Spanish, or indigenous. The absence of the British Empire changes everything, from language to politics. This is not about praise or condemnation, but understanding impact. By removing this massive piece from history, we see the world it created more clearly. Its presence shaped nations, wealth, and billions of lives. Let's begin this journey into a past that never was, to better understand the world that is. What if the British Empire had never existed? To grasp a world without the British Empire, consider its sheer scale. At its peak, it covered a quarter of the Earth's land and ruled over 450 million people, 1 in every 4 on the planet. Its reach spanned cultures, religions, and continents from India to Africa to Australia. The Royal Navy controlled sea lanes, protecting trade and projecting power globally. Britain imported raw materials, manufactured goods, and exported them back, fueling its industrial might. English became the language of administration and commerce. British sports and legal systems spread worldwide. The empire's influence was more than military or economic. It shaped culture and identity. Remove it, and the world's political, economic, and cultural map is transformed. The void left behind would alter the destiny of nearly every nation. The British Empire's legacy is everywhere. Its absence would echo across the globe. Imagine a world where the sun never rose on British rule. What fills the gap? India, the jewel in the crown, was the empire's most populous and profitable colony. Without British colonization, India's history would be dramatically different. The subcontinent might have unified under a regional power like the Marathas, or remained a patchwork of strong states. Languages like Persian or Marathi could have dominated, not English. India's economy might have developed its own industries, retaining its wealth and driving its own industrial revolution. Social changes and religious tensions would have evolved organically, perhaps avoiding the violent partition of 1947. The vast resources drained by Britain would have stayed in India, fueling growth. An independent India could have emerged as a major global power on its own terms. The India we know today would be unrecognizable, shaped by its own ambitions. The scramble for Africa saw Europe carve up the continent, with Britain taking vast territories. Without Britain, colonization might have been slower, leaving more African states independent. Powerful kingdoms like the Sokoto Caliphate, Buganda, and Zulu could have modernized and traded as equals. Africa's resources, gold, diamonds, rubber, would have enriched local societies, not European empires. Indigenous borders and languages would have shaped the continent, not European lines. Africa's story would be one of continuous, independent development, a continent of thriving kingdoms and republics. The legacy of colonialism would be replaced by a legacy of self-determination. North America's fate hinged on British colonization. Without Britain, France and Spain would have dominated. Imagine a French-speaking North and a Spanish-speaking South. Indigenous nations like the Haudenosaunee or Creek Confederacy might have consolidated power, negotiating as equals. The political DNA of the United States, common law, democracy, would be absent. No American Revolution, no Declaration of Independence. The continent might remain a patchwork of colonies and indigenous states. North America's languages, cultures, and borders would be radically different. The United States as we know it would never have existed. The New World would be a very different place. The most obvious legacy of the British Empire is English as the global lingua franca. Without British power, English would be a minor language. French, once the language of diplomacy, could have become the world's common tongue. Spanish, Mandarin, or Arabic might have risen to global prominence, depending on which empires flourished. The world could be more linguistically fragmented with several regional lingua francas. global culture would shift. French cinema, Spanish music, or Mandarin literature might dominate. The internet and media would center on different languages and cultural references. The world's cultural conversation would sound completely different. The global accent would not be English. The Industrial Revolution began in Britain, powered by colonial wealth and resources. Without the empire, Britain's industrialization would have been slower, relying on domestic resources and European trade. Industrialization might have spread gradually across France, Germany, and the Netherlands, creating multiple centers of innovation. The wealth gap between Europe and the rest of the world would be smaller. India, China, or African states might have industrialized earlier, leading to a more balanced global economy. Scientific and technological advances would focus on local needs, not imperial ambitions. The world economy would be less Eurocentric, more multipolar. The pace and direction of progress would be fundamentally different. Without Britain, other powers would rush to fill the vacuum. France, Spain, the Netherlands, or Portugal. The 18th and 19th centuries might see fierce competition for global dominance, with different colonial conflicts and world maps. French or Spanish empires would leave distinct political and cultural legacies, centralized rule, assimilation, and new legal systems. Beyond Europe, a modernized China, Japan, or even a Brazilian empire could rise, shaping Asia, Africa, or the Americas. The world would be multipolar, with several empires vying for influence. This could mean more instability, or a balance of power preventing any single hegemon. The great global conflicts of the 20th century would have different causes, players, and outcomes. Imagining a world without the British Empire is a journey through endless what-ifs. The empire brought conquest and exploitation but also connected the world in new ways. It spread ideas of democracy and law, even as it often failed to uphold them. English became a global tool for communication, and the empire's network shaped our interconnected society. Would the world be more peaceful or prosperous without it? Perhaps, but other empires would have risen, and conflicts would remain. Colonized nations might have retained their wealth, but global growth could have been slower. There are no easy answers. History cannot be undone. The British Empire's legacy is woven into our world, for better and worse. By imagining its absence, we see more clearly the forces that shaped us. The question isn't whether the world would be better or worse, but how different it would be. As we face today's challenges, what lessons can we learn from the empire that made the modern world? The past cannot be changed, but understanding it can shape our future. The story of the British Empire is a reminder: history's shadows are long, but so are its lessons.